give more returns. Get more security and more interest on your fixed deposits from Sri Lanka's largest finance company, LMDtv Finance.
It's your responsibility. Clean up. Be mindful of others who share the same spaces. Refresh Sri Lanka for a civic-minded society. In association with AICPA and CIMA and 99X. LMD, the voice of business.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. On this edition of the forum, we're zooming in on consumer trends amid the squeeze on disposable incomes. And with us, we have the Chairperson and Managing Director of Unilever Sri Lanka, Hajar Alafifi. It's very nice to have you on the show, Hajar.
Thank you, Rwanda. Hi, everyone.
To start off our discussion, a lot is going on in the environment right now. So can you give us a brief overview of the local FMCG sector, especially in terms of demand and supply when we look at both urban and rural areas of the island?
So guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you will make the most of the coming session. So as you said, Rwanda, the FMCG, the fast-moving consumer good, is a very dynamic area of our aisles in the supermarket. And indeed, it has gone through quite a change in the last 2 years. So very quickly, I will just highlight for you what we see happening in the FMCG sector. Firstly, when the inflation had hit 77% last year, and we saw many things changing. Fuel prices has increased by 300%. Electricity price has increased by 290%. We know there is a different tax structure that we all are going through. And this has impacted our consumers. So our consumers, they vote with their feet. And given that their wallet has been compressed, we saw that unfortunately our poverty level in Sri Lanka has doubled. And that has meant that many of the households are actually running short of money by the end of the year. In our estimation, every household lacks at least 4,000 rupee just to round off the year, the month. With that, it means that they are becoming very selective when it comes to the goods they buy. They will buy products that they believe are trustworthy and are going to deliver for the price they pay, meaning the value behind that price. We have seen the demand contracting very heavily and rapidly after the events of last year, something to the tune of 30% of demand less. That's in volumes. And maybe just I will color this a little bit more. In Sri Lanka, we have 6 million households. Out of the 6 million households, 1 million households, so significant number, is either lapsing or consuming less. Yeah. And now if you think about the island, of course, there is urban, there is rural, there is a workforce, there is bottom of the pyramid, the higher end of the pyramid. And we do see that there is a difference. In the urban areas, we see more people moving towards supermarkets or organized trade. And there is really a spike of, good brands that deliver with high efficacy, high quality at a good value. So that's where the equation lies. When you move a little bit more to the outskirts of the country, we see that the majority of the demand goes into smaller packs or into actually products or byproducts, smaller brands that have been created that may not offer, the best quality, but at least they can satisfy a need. Then we see that our consumers are actually either doubling, meaning buying more, and this is in the area of food. Food has been quite bubbling, actually doing quite well throughout the crisis and even throughout the pandemic last 3 years. Or consuming and using less, which we see in more discretionary categories like in shampoo or in skincare. And really that is across. So I think in a summary, what I'd like to say, we have gone through quite a tough time, and we have seen that in how the consumers decide and how the consumer purchase. But the good news is Actually, our Sri Lankan consumers always put quality and value first. And that means that they will always make sure that they get the right value for the price they pay.
That's a very good insight, which leads me to my next question. You were talking about value and then, of course, constrained wallets as well. So in terms of the company side of the story, profit consciousness versus price consciousness, where should companies and customers really meet in the middle?
It really all comes down to why you do what you do. Of course, profit is important because profit is like the byproduct of success. When you are profitable as a company, you're growing, and therefore you are called successful. But what brings the profit is the consumer. So I'd like to say, there is a balancing act in everything we do, and we have to adapt ourselves at the right time for what the consumer needs. And something we believe in at Unilever is we are here for the long run. So we take shocks when the shock is required. And we know that the country is going through crisis, but we've been here for no less than 85 years. And in the 85 years, we've seen many ups and downs. But through the ups and downs, we've been able to ensure that we live up to our purpose of making sustainable living commonplace. And if you really, are there for your why, making sustainable living commonplace, you do make sure that nothing that is done in your operation is not serving the consumer. It is the consumer who is helping us be better business people, better leaders, and better consumers ourselves. So I must say, I don't think it's an either or. It is both of them that you have to navigate well. And you have to do that price and profit in the best manner to serve the consumer need. Now, I will color it a little bit more. In our portfolio, we have what we call essentials. These are, brands that are stable stake for the consumer, the Sunlight and the Lifebuoy, the Signal, the Viva, the Horlicks. These have been around the block for generations and generations. These were called essentials by everybody, even during the pandemic, because we have to wash our clothes, we have to take a shower. And there we make every person in my company make sure that we make ourselves as affordable as possible, and we straddle the entire price pyramid for the have-not and the have-lot. And then you have the rest of the products, which actually are also aspiring products for the higher end of the pyramid. Brands like Très Aimé, like Dove, like Puree, these are also aspirational brands, which our consumers wants to have. And when you put the two in a pot, that pot needs to look like it's gonna produce for you a good soup. And that's where the magic of this company, happens, the magic of our leaders and our people and our talent that know how to make sure that they are surfing the crisis in a way that makes consumers, stay with us. That's your competitiveness, and also make our P&L go forward.
It's time to take a short break. When we return, we'll resume our conversation on consumer trends amid the squeeze on disposable incomes.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
You're mobile, and so are we.
Gets me going.
Grab the Lite 87 app at the Apple App Store or Google Play now.
87.8 and 87.6 island-wide. Lite 87.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking to the chairperson and managing director of Unilever Sri Lanka, Hajar Alafifi. Hajar, I'm going to ask a slightly different question. When we look at the FMCG sector of Sri Lanka, and of course, like you said, going through the crisis, surfing the crisis, how should the market as a whole balance imported brands and local products?
That's a really great question. Thank you so much for that. So firstly, let me start by saying that many think that Unilever Sri Lanka imports brands. So let me bust that myth, because 97% of our portfolio is produced locally. We have 2 factories here located in Sri Lanka, and we also work with many second and third parties. So 97 is localized. And what we have seen during the crisis, specifically when there was an import ban, you don't have a choice but to make sure that you buy the brands that are available in the market. And the brands that we avail and we produce here are international brands that we have been able to take the international standards of quality and localize them here in Sri Lanka. Like, let's say a brand like Lux is an international brand that we have localized here, Dove as well, Vaseline. So we have really some of these sturdy brands. Nonetheless, we also aspire, as you said, for imported brands. Yeah, so imported brands, they do play a major role. So I was really, welcoming the decision of the government when they decided after the crisis has eased to relax the import ban. And why is so? Every consumer wants a bit of pleasure in their life, seek a little bit of happiness and fun, and they would like to have a choice. And the more choice you give, the better you serve your consumer. So I'm a very big believer that actually competition is good, because you have to have a very good mix of local brands, of international brands produced locally, and some really imported bit. When one of these three is not happening in your shelf, you are depriving the consumer a choice. And actually, this can lead to gray import. This could lead to actually people just feeling that they don't have the right offers in the supermarkets. So I am neither for local brands, neither am I for international brands. I'm really for a diversified portfolio, a portfolio that spans all the demand spaces the consumer has, and a possibility to offer these demand spaces fully by all the companies here present. As my double click goes, where we have seen really a spike of local brands is in when the import ban has started. So we have seen a surge of small brands that are delivering either on skincare or even on cleansing. But unfortunately, sometimes these brands, they don't adhere to the international standards. And that's, I think, for me, is where the no-go or the red line is. So when we want to do local brands, we just want to make sure that these brands obey the same SLSI, the same NMRA guidelines. And I think this is what makes Sri Lanka special, is we have one of the best guidelines and quality standards. So for me, that's the answer really, Rwanda, to the question. You must have a mix of all, of local, international, and imported, that serves all the demands of the consumer. Give them a choice. Let the consumer vote by the feet is my true belief. However, the red line is on the quality and ensuring that we have a level of quality that is really decent, and we are not really creating an issue for the consumer or having a spike in complaints. And we're dealing with products that can generate a challenge if they have not gone through a thorough process of quality and standards. And of course, at Unilever, the one promise I can put forward is there are things which are non-negotiable, and quality is at the number one. Quality and safety are the number one non-negotiable for us.
You're right. I mean, everything starts with the consumer, and it is a consumer-centric philosophy. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Hajar. My next question to you is regarding something that's very near and dear to LMD's heart. So I think you would have seen, we recently launched a campaign called Refresh Sri Lanka, where we're trying to encourage a mindset change and create a more civic-minded society. You spoke of, the crisis. You spoke of the problems of various segments in the market. So when FMCG companies are trying to serve markets with considerably lower disposable incomes, especially now, what do you think the focus area should be to really ensure that companies don't ignore civic-mindedness?
I think here you ask a big question, Rwanda, and I need to approach it maybe from different angles. How do we make sure that all companies are civic-minded? And maybe you call it civic-minded, maybe I'll call it purposeful, but really it comes down to why am I doing what I'm doing and what I'm gunning for in the longer run. So irrespective of how we word it, for me, it comes down to one principle. It's a principle which is called the 3P, which is people, planet, profit. And in times like this, I'll just elaborate a little bit. Of course, you could cut on your people. And then how will you ask your people to be civic-minded if you have also cut on your people and you have not put them first? Of course, you can take some drastic actions that will make your P&L not look robust for the long term. And here you have maybe issues with your shareholders and issues also to run your own company. And of course, you can say the planet is there forever and I will just abuse the resources and I will let the next generations deal with it. But it's not really how it works. So I totally join forces in what you say in terms of making sure that we leave Sri Lanka better than what we found Sri Lanka, and not to just abuse the resources and think that this is the best outcome for the country. So having the right equilibrium between the three P, people, planet, profits, is number one. Ensuring that we know the purpose in which we are working is, for me, the reason or the raison d'être for every company and why we will do all good. So I just want to leave that there. Then I'll come to purposeful brands. I think when we ask our people to be civic minded, we also are role models. So I don't think it's, my right to go and ask my consumers. I first would like to show what we can do and how we can participate. So we have many brands that are taking active place in the community. And we do that because we believe that by doing so, the community is going to thrive. And therefore, the community is going to take on that baton and they're going to build on it and so on. So I'll give you a fresh example. Signal, for example, a toothpaste brand, but every year we do at least 1.5 to 2 million free dental checkups. And we do that so that we raise the hygiene standards of the country. And with that, you are raising a generation of consumers that are brushing their teeth and making hygiene a part and parcel of their everyday life. Now, moving to people centricity, we do a lot of work with universities to make sure that we are building talents who are fit with work and not having an academics that are not able to take on the right jobs. So that's another angle to look at it. Yeah, so maybe I'll just spin back the question. It is not only about what we're asking our people to do or what we are asking the organizations to do. It's a true end-to-end program where role models, key opinion formers, private and public sector need to put the purpose first, need to show pen to point the actions they take on the ground. And that is very important for the civil society then to take example and start executing on the same path. I think the other bit of this question, Rwanda, is that this is a long-term program. So we can't speak about purpose in 6 months or in an activation. When we speak about doing programs with our communities, we're here for the long run. And looking back, I think Sri Lanka has actually, we are quite civic-minded, to your point. Our people are generous. They put values above everything. And they believe in making their country a better country. The sense of optimism I see in our Sri Lankan is unprecedented. We have talent which we know is easily exportable internationally. And we operate in a market that gives us, an ability to bounce back from crisis with speed. Honestly, we have all it takes to make Sri Lanka an even better country than what it is today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hajar. That was a very positive outlook. And thank you for your beautiful phrase there, making Sri Lanka better than we found it. Love it. Thank you very much. We're almost at the end of our conversation. But before I let you go, any closing thoughts, any final thoughts that you would like to share with our audience?
So I think that's... I think my thought for the audience, and probably here we will have a different group, a group of business people, a group of students, or just a group of, readers. I really would like to first acknowledge that we have gone through a tough time, and equally acknowledge that we have come out of the tough time. And when you come out of the tough time, this is the moment to bet. This is the moment to commit again and decide to make Sri Lanka the best nation it can be in South Asia, and we are at that time. So I'd like really to thank our policymakers and our government for giving us this bounce back in a beautiful manner. And then to call on all parties, be it in the private sector, public sector, and our civil society, to join hands and to be a solid force of one, because there is no place for division here, and to really go big with partnership, collectiveness, to go and build a better future, which will be sustained, because our objective is not to do crisis 1 year, no crisis another year, but crisis another year. So we need to now sustain the momentum, sustain the tranquil seas that we are surfing, and let the consumer thrive. Let our kids be, thriving in their country and believing in a better life for themselves and for the generation to come. For me, this is really, the only thing I'd like to leave behind. And I myself, I would like to make sure that I am also inviting all people who can give us ideas as to how we can improve our operations here at Unilever Sri Lanka, or how can we make a better tie with our consumers to also give us their insight and how we make these opportunities stronger.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love your optimism. It's very inspiring. We've been talking to the Chairperson and Managing Director of Unilever Sri Lanka, Hajar Alafifi. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Ruwanda. Likewise, and see you soon.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.